phrase, you have to fight fire with fire. That is a true statement of how we're feeling right now.
We are ready to fight fire with fire.
Look, we got to fight fire with fire.
We're going to fight fire with fire.
Ah, yes, the Democrats, they love setting things on fire, don't they? They're the fire-bombingest bunch that we've had in the United States of America since the Democrats were firebombing things during the Civil War. Bom, 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 bom. Ah, yes. Fighting fire with fire. And last night, we learned out of St. Louis, Missouri, that the home of a Jewish family had been attacked. 3 automobiles firebombed. And the death to the IDF, death to the IDF, spray painted on the street in front of their home because, you know, they're Jews. Death to the IDF, giant white spray painted letters in front of their home, targeting the Jewish family. St. Louis, Jews in St. Louis not amused by this. You know, if you vote for Democrats, Jews in St. Louis or any place else in civilization, maybe it's time to rethink that. Just saying. And a very good Thursday to you, and welcome back once again. We remain at 888-630-9625, absolutely toll-free, too. Now, a hate crime inquiry. They always love to call it a hate crime, don't they? I said, does anybody name a love crime? Raise your hand if you can name a love crime. But the Democrats, we had one of our wonderful listeners call in a little while ago and spoke to Jasmine and say it's kind of ironic that the Democrats are firebombing, in this case, the cars, 3 cars, Jewish families' home, and spray painting death to the IDF like we're living in Gaza because the Democrats are bringing the third world to the United States. And, in fact, the aerial pictures of the spray-painted graffiti in the street that say death to the IDF, they had to blur out other graffiti there because it would be too offensive because the Democrats, and the graffiti is next to one of the 3 burned-out cars that the Democratic Party firebombed because, while they call everybody else Nazis, if you're looking for a Nazi-like behavior, I would suggest that you look to the behavior of the Democratic Party. And while they push for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, and Mahmoud Khalil, the allegedly Palestinian individual who naturally came to New York to go to Columbia University, an Ivy League institution, and, you know, Barack Obama and all that stuff. And they love Mahmoud Khalil. Mahmoud Khalil is calling for the extermination of the state of Israel, death to all the Jews, death to Western civilization. And the Democrats applaud that because that's fashionable for the Democrats. That's, critical race theory that all white people are bad and they've decided Jews are Semites, but they're white enough. They're white enough to be the bad guys here. And the Palestinians, who are also Semites, just like the Jews, they're the victims. Poor them with the terrorist groups and the kidnappings and the rapes and the mass murders and the tunnel system to hold hostages. And they're still holding, allegedly, maybe 20 hostages are alive, and they're still holding onto the dead bodies of hostages. And Mahmoud Khalil, he's good with all that. And the Democrats on Capitol Hill, they've signed on to the free Mohammed Khalil. And Senator Dick Durbin, the Illinois Democrat, reposting the free Mahmoud Khalil. Well, Mahmoud Khalil is, October 7th was, it's too bad it came to that. That's what he said, right? Too bad it came to that we had to do that. And it's interesting, the language that he uses. He does say we when he's referring to Hamas, the terror group. And he lied on his application for a student visa repeatedly. And the Democrats are okay with that. They're good with that. Now, Ezra Klein talking to the New York Times, Mahmoud Khalil talking to Ezra Klein from the New York Times, and because everybody has a podcast now. And he said, well, the chanting from the river to the sea, that's just fine. You guys should get over it, is his take on, death to the Jews, and let's have a real genocide and finish the job this time, which is where he is. And Ezra Klein of the New York Times, presumably Jewish, talking to Mahmoud Khalil about his, and he doesn't ask the hard questions, but he teed up some softballs, And that was pretty much good enough because Mahmoud Khalil, occasionally he screws up and tells the truth.
What moment is this? You can see that the situation is not sustainable. You have an Israeli government that's absolutely ignoring Palestinians. They are trying to make that deal with Saudi and just happy about their Abraham Accord without, looking at Palestinians as if Palestinians are not part of the equation. It's clear it's becoming more and more violent. So that's what I mean by unfortunately we couldn't avoid such a moment.
October 7th, the massacre of Jews, the largest massacre since the end of World War II, and the Holocaust. They're still holding hostages in tunnels, the rapes, the murders, the torture. And it's too bad it couldn't be avoided. It's the Israelis. And I was having a conversation this morning. He said, got to deal with the Saudis. If the Saudis got to deal with the Israelis, the royal family would immediately be in grave danger. And the government, it's not sustainable, he says, because they're ignoring the Palestinians. I'm sorry, this has already been resolved. You guys got Gaza, which, again, is twice as large as the District of Columbia, where I live, and has 25 miles of beautiful west-facing beachfront property on the Mediterranean Sea that any civilized people would cut off their pinky for. Hey, this is great stuff. And the Israelis gave them elections, and then they elected Hamas. The Israelis give them electricity, which they don't generate for themselves. The Israelis give them clean, potable water. Yep, it's potable, like on Jeopardy, potable potables, notable potables. And they give them everything that they need to live, including democracy. And they elected a death cult called Hamas, and then they blame the Israelis for not doing enough. They're like leftists in that whatever you give them, they're just going to want more. And then you give them that, and they're going to want more. These are not people with whom you can live in peace and harmony. It's all their fault. And that is, again, Mahmoud Khalil, hero of the Democrat Party and the Democrat senators in the United States Senate, and they're not on the side of civilization. Isn't it amazing? Ezra Klein talking to Mahmoud Khalil.
I understood that as something Hamas must have wanted, right? Pull Israel into this attack, pull it into some kind of war. Was that your perception? To me, it's a desperate attempt to the word that Palestinians are here, that Palestinians are part of the equation. That was my interpretation of why Hamas did the October 7 attacks on Israel.
Yeah. The deadliest, most blood-drenched attack on Jews since the 1940s, and Palestinians are here. Well, see, here's the second part of that. The first part is Palestinians are here. The second part is they're blood-drenched, bloodthirsty savages that will torture your children to death and throw your bodies into tunnel system that you paid to have built. And when we're done with that, we'll start killing some more. That's the second part of Palestinians are here. Palestinians are here, and you can't live side by side with them because Israel just tried that, giving you Gaza, beachfront property, beautiful sunset views. You could put up condos and businesses, and Israel allows Arabs and Muslims to live where they want in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem and beyond. And they say, no, we want to live separately in settlements, and so we can plot against you and kill you later. How many centuries have to go by before you guys join the civilized world? Can I ask that question? Because, I mean, if I were Ezra Klein at the fake New York Times, I think I might say, well, how many centuries is it going to take? And the reality is, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. We're going to wipe Israel off the face of the map. We're going to kill all the Jews. And we're going to make sure that the world rises up against them, a global intifada. Isn't that great? And we are here. He identifies with the wrong side in this. Ezra Klein and Mahmoud Khalil.
October 7th was obviously an operation that did kill a lot of civilians. Do you see
that is unavoidable, that Hamas had no other choice? Do you see it as a
No other
mistake?
choice.
There's nothing can justify the killing of civilians. Also, there's another point to this.
Also,
Isra.
blah, blah, blah.
Palestinians don't have to be perfect victims.
They don't have to be perfect victims. Palestinians don't have to be perfect victims. First of all, they're the victims. They kill you. And this is where they have a lot in common with the left. There's some people in some cultures have something wrong with their brains, and this is a pretty good example of all that. Palestinians don't have to be perfect victims. They don't have to be perfect victims. And that's his response to, and then he gives the kind of the platitude, killing civilians is wrong. Democrats throw out platitudes like that as well. But Palestinians don't have to be perfect victims, is what he said. They're the victims, and what do you expect from victims? You're going to get more of it. This is the guy that the Democrat, including members of the Democrat Senate, Democrats are fighting for this guy. This is free speech. Now, in the 1930s, there were people in the United States who said what the Nazis were doing in Germany before they started invading everybody. We're doing good things. There was a rally in Madison Square Garden where people actually dressed in Nazi uniforms and had Nazi armbands and things like that. And now we look back after World War II, during World War II, people look back on that and say it was a disgraceful episode in American history. That's what we're witnessing right now. Do you know what we're witnessing? Are you on the right side of what we're witnessing? Because there is a genocidal death cult living among us. Mahmoud Khalil is a scout for that genocidal death cult. And the Democrat Party, they're saddling up with Mahmoud Khalil and with the genocidal death cult. Isn't that amazing? They're on the side of the drug cartels in Mexico and points south. They're on the side of every illegal alien, criminal, rapist, murderer, drunk driving, mother, baby killer in the country. The Democrat Party is on the side of the school in Fairfax, Virginia. An amazing story. Fairfax, Virginia County Schools, not far out of Washington, D.C., where an investigation is now ongoing because it appears that the teachers and other staff at the Fairfax County Public Schools, the high school there, discovered that two young girls were pregnant, and they sneaked the girls away and paid for their abortions and never contacted the parents. That's the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party wants to convince your children, if they're boys, that they're not boys, they're really girls. If they're girls, that they're not girls, they're really boys. And they will sneak them away and have the removal of their genitalia, their child genital mutilation, paid for by someone else while keeping it a secret from their parents. The Democrat Party is insane. You know, a fanatic is often described as someone who is unwilling to change their mind and unable to change the subject. But the Democrat Party, the fanaticism of the Democrat Party is everywhere. And it's violent. It's definitely violent. You know, the Democrat that went and rented, no less, an Elon Musk car, a Tesla mobile, filled it with explosives and nail bombs, and drove to the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, where he ignited the explosives, killing himself with a goal of killing, hundreds at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. And he set himself on fire and blew himself up. And amazingly, the Tesla automobile was so sturdy that the blast only went up and not out to the sides, so it didn't kill all the people he wanted to kill. Got Democrats self-immolating at the Israeli embassy in Washington, the Israeli consulate in Atlanta. Democrats self-immolating at the Donald Trump trial outside the courthouse in New York City. The Democrat Party is not well in 2025. The state of their union is not sound. I want to talk to you about living a better digital life, a better life in the digital sphere with one of our newest partners. And we love our new partners. We love our partners everywhere. WebRoot. I chose WebRoot because of the Total Protection product. WebRoot's all-in-one package offers plans and options for individuals and allowing for coverage of up to 5 devices, or for a family package up to 10 devices, and they got you covered no matter what. WebRoot's coverage includes antivirus and identity protection and identity theft protection and VPN backup and a whole lot more. And you don't need to be an adult even, because, WebRoot wants to make sure that your entire family is protected, whether you've got a toddler on the internet or with a phone or with an iPad, a student in college or high school, senior citizen living in the home. WebRoot allows my best girl and I to live a better digital life, and that's why I want to recommend WebRoot to you. You should do the same thing. Right now, you get 50% off WebRoot's Total Protection or WebRoot's Essentials program when you go to webroot.com/plant. Again, you get 50% off because you and I hang out together off of WebRoot's Total Protection plan or WebRoot's Essentials plan when you go to webroot.com/plant. Yes, sir. Yeah, the Democrat Party firebombing Jewish governors' houses. This is an era this is a stain on the history of our country, and it is being driven once again 100% by the Democrats. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. The pro-jihad Democrats at the University of Maryland were planning on holding a pro-Hamas rally on the anniversary of October 7th and the massacre in Israel by Hamas. And the university said, no. They were afraid there would be violence with celebrating murder and kidnapping and rape. And the Democrats promoted all this. But the university said, no, can't do that. And a judge overruled the school, said, no, you have to allow the pro-Hamas people to celebrate the murder of Jews. And now University of Maryland has lost a lawsuit, and they've got to pay $100,000 to the pro-Hamas people, and a bunch of the money goes to CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, which is waging soft jihad in the United States. Isn't that amazing? But that's not even the biggest story right now, because there's another great one. President Trump is calling for a new census to be conducted, and that the new census would exclude illegal aliens. And the Democrats say, hell no. We got to include the illegal. We moved millions of illegal aliens into the country so we could amp up the number of seats we get in the House of Representatives. The Democrats did this with slaves, too, with 3/5 of a person to increase their representation in the House of Representatives. The Democrat Party is a stain on the history of humankind. But they are consistent. I'll give them that. Got more on that coming up. I love this. President Trump is talking about having a new census taken in the United States. And this time, don't count the illegal aliens that the Democrat Party moved in by the tens of millions, which will create new House seats, new seats in the House of Representatives. And the Democrats moved them around the country and put them, hey, now you got 2 million more people here. We got 2 more House seats. And then they do what they always do with the gerrymandering, and they give themselves new House seats. These people are really something. The Fox News people have the story. Trump orders work on new census. Says people in U.S. illegally will not be counted. The Democrats are like, screw that. We're counting all the illegals. We get more House seats. We moved to Democrat states. We moved to Republican states and watered down the Republicans, just as they've done in their gerrymandering for years and years in state after state across this great land of ours. President Donald Trump declared in a Thursday Morning Truth Social post that he has directed the Commerce Department to start working on a new census, noting that illegal aliens in the U.S. will not be included in the population count. President Trump wrote, I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern-day facts and figures and, importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election in 2024. People who are in the country illegally will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He loves to end his post with thank you for your attention to this matter, which is fun. The U.S. conducts a census every decade. The last decennial census was conducted in 2020, and another is scheduled for 2030. Of course, that's true. The decennial census is key to determining the balance of political power each state holds, and that's what the Democrats were taking full advantage of when they opened our southern border and waved in tens of millions of illegal alien gang members and Chinese spies and, the other people that Democrats sleep with. Because the population counts are used in apportionment. The Democrats insisted that slaves be counted as 3/5 of a person because they are the party of slavery, because they wanted to increase the number of people they had in the House of Representatives, particularly over non-slave states. The determination of how many seats each state gets in the House of Representatives is one of the consequences of the count. Consequently, the count also ultimately determines how many electoral votes each state gets for presidential elections, since a state's electoral count equals the number of House and Senate seats in that state. The 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution reads in part, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. Hey, you don't pay taxes, So the U.S. Census Bureau, which falls under the Department of Commerce, indicates that unauthorized immigrants, as they're called in their documentation, are counted in the resident population figures, noting on a frequently asked questions webpage that all people, citizens and non-citizens, with a usual residence in the United States are included in the resident population for purposes of the census. And the Democrats know that, and so when they wave millions and millions of people into the country and they direct them to certain states, they do that with an eye toward benefiting the Democratic Party and being detrimental to the Republican Party. So President Trump has now opened another can of worms, and this is a good one. It's a great one. That, you guys, there are 10,000 ways to lie in the naked city. The Democrats know all of them. And the opening our borders and waving in tens of millions is part of a broader plan they have. Barack Obama warned us years ago that we better teach the kids to speak Spanish because English won't be of much use to us after a period of time. This is a pretty amazing story, I've got to say. Instructed the Commerce Department to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern-day facts. And we will not be counting illegal aliens in the census. Democrats are going to be furious about this because they want more welfare money. They want to steal more property and power because the Democrat Party is a stain on the history of humanity. They're amazing. And they're growing the jihad in the United States of America, among other things. Aren't they amazing? Stain on history. That's what I'm here to tell you. Okay. I haven't taken a phone call in a long time, have I? Let's go to the telephones. Let's talk to Bob, calling from Port Republic, Maryland. Bobby, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm good, Bob. What do you know?
Well, I know that conservatives aren't really into the chanting thing too much, but I kind of had a little inspiration sitting here at the table with my wife this morning and got a good retort for their chant next time. All of you are full of crap. Show me Palestine on the map.
All of you are full of crap. Show me Palestine on a map. That's pretty good. I like that.
I think it's a pretty good idea.
That's a very good idea. So, you said you were just working with your wife on this?
Yeah.
That's very nice. Over breakfast today?
Yeah, late breakfast.
I'm a late breakfast. That's good. That's good. And your wife is a woman?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good. And you're a man?
Yes, sir.
Definitely not Democrats then.
44 years married.
Is that right? No kidding. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, a Shevitz. So that's good. So you're all full of crap. You are all full of crap. Show me Palestine on a map. That's pretty good.
Well, thank you.
and it's true, of course. Here's Israel, and here's Gaza, and the settlements, and like it's the best, most prosperous country in that region of the world. Generally speaking, if you're just talking about Israelis, the least violent, the mellowest country in that region of the world, and the Israelis are like, well, we'll give you 25 miles of Mediterranean seafront property, and it'll be twice the size of Washington, D.C., and you can have elections, and we'll give you electricity, and we'll give you clean water, and then we can all live together in peace. It's a two-state solution. And this is what the Democrats got. This is what the Israelis got by giving the Palestinians a two-state solution. And the Democrats are still pounding the table and their machetes and saying, we need a two-state solution. We have one. And this is what we got. Isn't it amazing? And the history of, and you're absolutely right. You can go back in history. Where is Palestine? There was under colonialism, there was the Palestinian Protectorate. So maybe the left would like to bring back colonialism. You think, Bob?
Nothing to do with it now. I don't think we want to get involved.
They're truly amazing people, aren't they? Yeah, and
My
the history.
wife is Jewish, by the way, too.
Your wife is Jewish too, is that right?
Okay.
And and look, and if you want the history of the Israelites in Israel, that goes back thousands of years. So I can, let's go to Moses fleeing slavery and bondage in Egypt and parting the Red Sea and and wandering the desert and 40 years and all that good stuff. The history of Jews and the Israelites in Israel goes back to the beginning of time, and they're Semites. The Israelis are Semites, and the Arabs are Semites, and it's an extraordinary thing to see, isn't it, Bob?
It's baffling.
Baffling. And even more baffling than the craziness of the Middle East, which, Bob, we used to look at from a distance here in the United States and shake our heads and say, boy, good thing that we don't suffer from all of that stuff. But the Democrats have made sure, Bob, that we now do suffer from all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. All right, Bob, I thank you for calling in. I'm glad you're having a nice breakfast with your wife of 44 years and that you're coming up with slogans, making fun of the lunatics, and that you're laughing about it. That's really great.
I was the guy who called you about the Hells Angels years ago, too, when you used to say the Girl Scout at the Hells Angels picnic.
Ah, yes, yeah. Got you treated like a girl. And then I changed it, didn't I?
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, I did.
You got married since then, too.
Well, that's true. I did that as well. Yes, I did. But yes, and I looked at, and when I lived in California, one of my great friends was a former Hells Angel at that time.
He performed your wedding, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, you're good, man. Yeah, you are. That's right. Yeah, yeah. My childhood starter marriage. Yeah, that was a big mistake. Yeah, but our old friend, his name was Peter Garrick, and he was a Hells Angel San Diego chapter. Ended up being thrown in San Quentin, smuggling heroin and doing stuff like that. And we became great friends, and he presided over our wedding. And the wedding, in fact, today is August 7th. The anniversary of my first starter wedding was August 6th. August 6th.
Oh, man.
And what else happened on August 6th? Hiroshima. Hiroshima happened on August 6th.
Oh, yeah, right. I saw that last night on the television. I should have remembered that.
And I've been saying, there's bombing of Hiroshima with an atomic bomb, and my first wedding, two great bombs in history. Two great bombs in history.
There must be a chant in there for that somewhere too.
You work on that. You can get back to us, Bob.
I'll get back to you.
That's great stuff. Bob, good to hear your voice. Thank you for calling in. Good stuff.
Good talking to you.
Thanks, buddy. That's and wasn't it? All of you are full of crap. Show me Palestine on a map. Well, they got you give them stuff, seafront property, and look what happens. Crazy, man, crazy. Yes, sir. Yeah, a new census. I haven't looked at what MSNBC is saying about that yet, but I'd like to see that. Now, my friend Brian and I going back and forth this morning, and there's a crazy story. James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun. Does that mean what raging? They're always raging about something, aren't they? And, they got a lot of strange habits, these people. But James Carville is now saying out loud that the Democrats, and this is what he's calling for, need to unilaterally pack the Supreme Court and create new blue states. I was talking about this yesterday. Maybe Carville was listening to the radio show. Because the Democrats, they're yelling, Trump is a threat to democracy. Well, they open up our borders, flood in tens of millions of people, distribute them around to steal seats in the House of Representatives. But I'm not done yet. James Carville says the Democrats need to unilaterally pack the Supreme Court and to create new blue states, quote, to save democracy. Now, Michael Piercy and I were talking about this, and I was reminded of the quote from a reporter during the Vietnam War. We had to destroy the village in order to save it. And that quote was from an unnamed alleged U.S. Army officer, as reported by a guy who's an old friend of mine, Peter Arnett. Peter Arnett, a New Zealander who was a wire service reporter during the Vietnam War. And when I worked at CNN, Peter Arnett was working at CNN as a reporter. And I got to say, he's infuriated a lot of people over the course of his lifetime. And he gave us the "we had to destroy the village in order to save it" quote, which has been challenged and da-da-da, back and forth. But I got to say, I always liked Peter Arnett a lot. Peter Arnett was a ton of fun. He was a crazy man, and he was fun to drink beer with. But it was Peter Arnett. I think he was an Associated Press reporter at the time in the Vietnam War, and I worked with him decades later at CNN. But we had to destroy the village in order to save it. And here's James Carville with, and he's out here in public saying it, Democrats need to unilaterally pack the Supreme Court and create new blue states to save democracy. We had to destroy the democracy in order to save it. Democratic strategist James Carville urged on Wednesday that Democrats open a Pandora's box and execute multiple controversial power grabs to, quote, save democracy, end quote, including establishing a permanent electoral majority. That is the stuff of totalitarian, fascist, Nazi pig dogs. That's English for the German Schweinhund, right? Pig dogs. But to save democracy, including establishing permanent electoral majority. Now, what's that? There is only the fight. These people are literal authoritarians. While they accuse, it's the old Russian playbook. Whatever they accuse you of, it's what they do themselves, right? And we played that soundbite earlier in the week, I think. And I want to follow up on this because this is the literal end of democracy, and they can't do it unilaterally. But he's calling they're just at civil war against the United States of America, and how we push back against this lunacy. The Democrats talk about democracy, says the importance of democracy, preserving democracy, saving democracy. Truth is, the matter is, people are right. They say democracy is really imperfect. I'm going to get back because you got to pack the Supreme Court and steal Congress and create what he calls a permanent majority. That is Hitler, fascist, Nazi, authoritarian, totalitarian stuff. And that's why they're calling everybody else all those names, because they know when they're at home alone, they smell themselves. The Democrat Party is a stain on history. And James Carville is a tiny little stain on history, just a minute little stain. You know, the big wireless companies, they're pulling one over on all of us. It's time to switch to Consumer Cellular. Listen, I switched. I'm getting the same fast, reliable, nationwide, big wireless coverage without the big wireless cost. It's not just about saving money on the bill every month, although that's real good. It's about not being used and abused by the big cell phone companies. They think they own you. Do you even know how much data you use every month? Probably not. Most people over the age of 50 use less than 8 gigs of data a month. But the big wireless companies, they shove you into an unlimited plan, make you pay a whole lot of money because they need you to cover the cost of 19-year-olds who use 10 times as much data as you use every month. And if you're not using all that data, guess what? You are the one being used. Had enough of that? Go with Consumer Cellular. They set me up with a service and a phone, and it's incredibly easy to switch. You speak to an actual human being on the telephone, not a robot. That person is based right here in the United States, not on a space platform. Real human beings who are actually helpful. Takes only about 20 minutes to make the change, so give them a call today and make the switch. That's 1-800-760-0702. 800-760-0702. Yeah, James Carville. We had to destroy the democracy in order to save it. I got the details on that coming up. All right, I'm going to get back to James Carville because I want to let it breathe a little. I don't want to rush it. I'll share it with you after the top of the hour and the news. Right now, let's go to the back of, and he is what he's proposing is fascist, Nazi, destroy democracy in order to save it. Giant fraud. All right, let's grab Andre calling from St. Louis, Missouri. Andre, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, good morning, Chris. That's a great piece. I came in late. I'm not sure if any of your other guests noted this, but the U.S. Census Bureau ran a quality check of the 2020 census. They published it on May 19th, 2022 on census.gov. I'm amazed it's there because what it shows is there were 6 significant undercounted states and 8 significant overcounted states. We're talking millions of people, millions. Of the undercounted states, 82% were Republican. Of the overcounted states, 75 were Democrat, those who voted for Trump. And I did a quick tally while on hold, and it counts up to about 10 seats at about 700,000 citizens per seat. So if Trump and Republicans aren't using this as their pointy end of the spear in their argument, they need to make this right. But I wanted to have your listeners know that at census.gov.
That is great, great stuff. Thank you, Andre.